Welcome to our first Citywide stories for the year, and in some ways this is a happy and a sad story because we're officially today saying goodbye to Matt and Kylie Henderson. Now, you guys have been part of the church for a little while. Not everybody, I guess, there'll be some people who are just arriving new or watching you for the first time. Matt, what have you been involved in the church?
Okay. So I work on Citywide's technology team. So I've been part of the team that does our live streaming since we started it. So I do video production there. I've been part of the teaching team for about 3 years, I think. Preach the occasional sermon, get to give feedback on sermon planning and stuff like that. I've been involved in planning of church services for a long time. I've been on the eldership for 2 years. I led the youth group last year and served as the acting chair of elders for 6 months.
So, Kylie, what have you been involved in?
Majority of my work has been in the office, some work with Jan, but primarily with Agnes doing the finances. Last year I took on the responsibility of the prayer chain, do the rostering for Lenna Valley, and just wherever I've got something to do, I'm happy to help out. Last year I did Anzac Day in the Park, which was a big job, but it was great. And I'm always happy to help where I can.
So I think you'll hear in all that, between Matt and Kylie, we're losing a fair bit and Hobart Baptist Church is gaining a fair bit. Now, it's not as simple as you're both just disappearing, and which we're very pleased for that. Kylie's offered to help transition the finances over a period of time, and Matt will continue in the acting chair of elders role until our AGM in about 4 weeks' time. But it's also true, at the finance team meeting this past week, we were saying we've got this dilemma. If we can't find a way to, because the significant load Kylie's been carrying with the finances, if we can't find a way to move that forward voluntarily, we'd love to hear from people who are interested in that. We may have to employ someone, which shows you for both of Matt and Kylie have been carrying some significant weight amongst us. What would you say has been the main things you've taken away from your time at Citywide?
Well, for Citywide, they've shown us that we had gifts and to use those gifts. From my perspective, I've grown so much in knowing that I have a lot to contribute, whereas before I never saw that capacity there. And I just feel like we were really nurtured at Citywide. It's just shown us that we can do so much, whereas before it wasn't really on our radar. But I know that I remember when you first came in, Matt, and I said to you, it's like, we always like to help, but then when you came, it was like, what more can we do and what more can we do? Because we wanted to give back to Citywide, because Citywide had given us so much by giving us a family and a home, and it's just a big part of our hearts.
I mean, a big part also for us was a few years ago we both sort of made the decision that we would say yes when we felt like God was asking us to go to do a thing, to take a step that we would, regardless of how we felt about it, that we would say yes. And Citywide has been a place where we've felt that we were able to do that. And we've been able to grow, we've been able to, like I said, really grow up spiritually. And it's interesting too that we've both also, for the last 6 months, had a bit of a feeling of an upcoming change or ending, and we both thought it was to do with our studies. now looking back on it, we feel like for a while God's actually been preparing us for the fact that no, change is coming, and it's here.
Well, let's talk about where you're going and what's happening.
Okay. So late last year, I applied for a job at Hobart Baptist Church, and that's associate pastor. And it was quite a process, and found out very recently that I had actually been successful in applying for that. So, yeah, it's really exciting because I've been studying at Bible College for the last 4 years. But it's also really sad because we love it at Citywide. Yeah.
How are you feeling about the heading to a new church and heading into the unknown?
Well, excited for Matt to start his journey, but scared and a bit sad because Citywide's been home, it's been family, and we're not leaving because we want to, we're leaving because God's got plans for Matt, and exciting times ahead for him.
Yeah, it's very. I mean, Citywide is really where we've done our growing up in a spiritual sense, and so for us, this has been home. This has been our church family, and it still will be. We're not going to suddenly stop wanting to, keep in touch with all our friends here. But we always also knew that when I started studying at Bible College, that if I was actually going to use the qualification I got, it would probably require doing it somewhere else. And so we've always known that was something on the horizon, that if God had that in mind, we'd already agreed to say yes to that. Yeah.
So how can people be praying for you guys in this transition period?
I guess the big thing is just to help us to be able to move into new things, new relationships. It is going to be hard and sad, but exciting at the same time. Just to help us to be able to adjust to a new reality, different way of seeing things.
If I had to say something specific, I'd say for Matt's confidence as he comes into being an actual pastor rather than going from training to be one to actually being one. So there will be transition, and I just want prayers specifically for that confidence, because he is capable. He's just got to know he's capable and know God's by his side.
And he's been doing it here at Citywide for a little while. Well, we're going to miss you. And while we're recording this today, we'll be watching it on Sunday, and live we'll gather people around you to pray.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.